people talk about Jesus, they often refer to him as if he were a poor man. He's often thought of as poor. I suppose by modern standards, he would seem to be poor. But was he? The social system into which Jesus was born was made up of three distinct classes. At the bottom were the rabble, the oppressed, those who were ostracized by society at large, those who had very little indeed and who often had to beg. And then there was the middle class, and it was a smaller group made up of shopkeepers and tradesmen like carpenters and also fishermen. The Pharisees, the Zealots, and the Essenes were all educated people, and so they too fell into that class. And then you had the upper class, the hugely wealthy, those that lived in luxury. Between the upper and middle classes was an enormous gap. The priestly families, such as the Sadducees, were part of this upper class group, and they lived off the temple taxes, and so they can be seen of as wealthy landowners. Jesus was born a carpenter, and so he was born into the middle class of that era. He was not poor, and he was not oppressed. Yet, Jesus, though middle class, mixed with the lowest of the low. He became an outcast by choice. He became an outcast by choice. Reminds me a little bit of St. Francis. Now, why would he do that? Why would anyone choose to become an outcast? Now, we're not talking about him going to the poor to do works of charity. He did not go there to run soup kitchens or to provide shelters for the homeless. He went to the poor to live as they lived. He went to the poor and he mixed with them socially. He went into their homes as a friend. He ate with them as an equal. And so why did he befriend them? Why did he identify with them? Remember, these are the people who believed they had no value. They believed they were beyond even the love of God. These were the sinners. And so here, Jesus, God, goes to a people who believe they have no human value. Why? Because he was moved by compassion for them. Not pity, not sympathy, but compassion. You can feel his compassion throughout the Gospels. How often does he say, "Don't cry. Don't worry. Don't be afraid." He was not moved by the grandeur of the temple. No. He was moved by the widow who put her last coin into the temple treasury. In his parables, we again see compassion illustrated. The Good Samaritan was moved by compassion for the half-dead man. It was compassion that we see in the father of the prodigal son. So what stands out in Jesus is unrestrained compassion. Much of what Jesus did was only really intelligible through his compassion for the poor and the oppressed. Now, compassion means to suffer with. And we see that because Jesus was moved to tears. He wept. He suffered with. And so what could be done about all this, the suffering that made Jesus weep? And so Jesus sets out to liberate people from suffering and anguish. He came to do that. He came for us, to live amongst us, moved by a deep compassion for us and for the suffering that we face. May you have a blessed day, and may you see the world through the compassionate eyes of Christ.